Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Speaking to the bill.
The gentlewoman has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Since the gentleman from Prince William gave everyone sort of an overview of charter schools, I'd like to give you the rest of the story, or the other side. And I understand charter schools are here, and I understand charter schools will probably grow, but there is a basic fundamental discomfort that some have with charter schools, because if the benefit of a charter school, as I understand, is that that school can have more autonomy and accountability in an effort to give parents a choice of a better school, and that's basically what we're talking about. And my question is, why aren't we giving more autonomy and accountability to all of our public schools? Now, I've asked this question every time we've had a charter school bill, and it's never been answered. I'm going to ask it rhetorically again, and maybe somebody in the course of these debates will answer it. But what happens, well, let me phrase it this way. In the Governor's State of the Commonwealth, he said, the education that a child gets should not depend on where they live, and I agree. But it also shouldn't depend on whether or not they are lucky enough to win the lottery to get a few spots in a charter school. I have to be concerned about every student in the city of Richmond's public school system. And there are not enough slots at Patrick Henry, the charter school in the city of Richmond, for every kid. So I've got to worry about what happens to all the kids at Carver and every other elementary school. And if my concern is our focus on charter schools and lab schools, even though I support lab schools, and virtual schools, I think is taking our attention off of a much bigger question. What do we need to do to bring up every school in the public school system in the city of Richmond and in the Commonwealth of Virginia? And if it's give them more autonomy and accountability, then let's do it for everybody. Not just the lucky few get the lottery number to go to Patrick Henry. So that's the fundamental public policy debate that many of us have, why we're not quite comfortable with this focus on new types of schools or school choice that allows students to go to private schools, again, a lucky few. But what about the ones that are left at the other public school systems? Now, a couple of specific provisions in this bill. The provision that would allow the charter school to lease vacant facilities, they can already do that. In the city of Richmond, the parents that founded the Patrick Henry School wanted to use Patrick Henry Elementary School, which the city of Richmond closed because it needed to be renovated, needed extensive renovations. It wasn't ADA compliant, for one. And the city of Richmond didn't have the money to renovate it. We could have a whole long discussion about why they didn't, but they didn't. And one of the fights that happened between the Richmond City School Board and the Patrick Henry folks when they were working on their charter application was, because they insisted on using that building, was who should pay for the renovations. Now, they eventually sorted that out. But the fact is, they sorted it out without this legislation. Now, the way the legislation was originally introduced, it would have mandated that the locality let them use that. And I thank the gentleman when I raised my concern about that, he addressed it. But another point, in most of our localities, if the school system, the school board, is not using the building, it reverts back to the locality, and the governing body of the locality, in this case, City Council, might have other ideas on how they want that building to be used. And what we're saying is, we're saying that the General Assembly will tell that locality, if a charter school wants to use it, we'll let the school board make the decision on the best use of that property. We're taking that decision away from City Council or the Board of Supervisors in the county. And I'm not sure that's what we ought to do. And my line numbers are different from the gentleman's from Prince William, but on the section, I think it's lines 60 through 72, the provision that would require when a charter school files an application with the school board, under our Constitution, it is up to that locality school board to decide the fundamental question, do we want a charter school or not? That is a local decision that the Commonwealth of Virginia has no say in. That is a decision that is made in a public hearing with lots and lots of debate. We had plenty of debate here in the city of Richmond. If it's denied, then the applicant can appeal. And there's another public hearing and another opportunity for public comment and debate. And the bill we passed a few years ago said if it's denied, not only does the applicant get the right to an appeal, but they can go to the Board of Education and get technical assistance and have the Board of Education help them figure out what they need to do to get their application accepted. But ultimately, it's up to the local school board. Now, we're putting a provision in that says after you've already had 2 public hearings and 2 debates, the school board now has to come to the Board of Education and justify to the Board of Education why they denied the charter, even though the Board of Education has no say in the matter. What's the point? A cynical person, which I try not to be, would think it could be, I mean, when you say you have to come justify your decision to the Commonwealth of Virginia, that's kind of implying if you deny it, you're doing something wrong. It's their decision. It is their constitutional right to decide whether they want a charter school or not. They shouldn't have to justify to the Board of Education their decision. And finally, the money. Where else in the code do we tell local school systems what percentage of funding they have to spend for a specific thing? And yeah, there's some of us who are very concerned about how that money is allocated. And I don't think we're going to, I know there are going to be further conversations on this piece, but I don't know if we can address some of the concerns that we have on this side. So again, charter schools are here. I know they're here. I know they're not going anywhere. But I'm just asking that rather than spending all of our time and focus on charter schools, virtual schools, private schools, school choice, I think that's the wrong priority. I think the priority is all of our schools. And what happens to the kids that don't go to the charter schools? And what is it that we need to do to make sure that they're getting the high-quality, free public education that they're entitled to in the Constitution of Virginia, that if they're not getting, we're not doing our jobs. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.